Audio Jungle.
Hello, everybody. Let's make sure that we are live. Oh, yes, and we are. So, hey, welcome everybody to episode 39 of JobSeeker Live Talk. I'd like to welcome everybody joining us live on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and as well as during our episodes, we're going to be sharing how job seekers can best position themselves in today's job market. And it is just like if you're selling a house, it's a seller's market. You're a job seeker, the ball's in your court. We'll talk more about that, but we're going to be providing, tips, various topics, resume tips, interviewing advice, and the real struggles that most job seekers are having in landing that new career today. So let me introduce my guest today, and it is Colonel Carla Bass, U.S. Air Force, retired. How are you today, Carla?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me on your show.
My first colonel on the show, and maybe we'll get into that here shortly. So, Carla, tell us a little bit about maybe just what it is you do, and maybe you wear several hats, I think. But tell us a little bit more about what you do.
Well, I have two passions right now. One is my day job. I still work with the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, and in that capacity, I help write products that go to Congress and the White House and so forth. And then my other passion is sharing my knowledge of how to write powerfully with other people. My battle cry I developed a while ago is that powerful writing changes lives because it opens doors to opportunity that otherwise would be shut. And so that's kind of a calling.
Okay. I'm old enough to remember, before emails, right?
Mm-hmm.
I must admit, even though I write resumes, help people with their LinkedIn and some career coaching and everything like that, I count on spell check more. I count on referencing a lot of different things. So, before we get into the weeds here, why is it that we've lost that? Is it because of technology maybe that we've lost a little bit of that, creative writing?
Technology has something to do with it, but I think about 15 years ago, someone stopped teaching the teachers. And the reason I say 15 years ago is if you look at an individual who's midway through their career, whether it's civilian or military, that's about when the writing begins to go down the tubes. So I'm guessing that I certainly was taught the principles of grammar and sentence diagramming and concise writing. And so, when I came out as a second lieutenant, I knew how to do that. That's not taught in school anymore. All the way through college and even grad school, what people are taught is to throw in the words to make the required length of the particular assignment, and that teaches you to write fat and not write skinny. So somewhere we stopped teaching the teachers, and so many people are suffering because of that.
I get it, and I think that we rely on technology, so maybe some of those things slip a little bit. So everybody, make sure if you have any questions, and I see that we have people watching us on YouTube or Facebook. I can't tell, but make sure to tell us where you're watching us from. And I'm over looking at my phone, and I see we got people on LinkedIn watching us as well. So make sure to put your questions and comments, and we might be a little more interactive than normal today. So make sure make sure to be prepared to answer maybe some questions that we're going to have for you instead of you asking some questions of us. So you have developed a new course, and we'll get a little bit more into that, but tell us a little bit about why you developed this course, who it's for, and maybe how job seekers can kind of reference this course.
Sure. It's on teachable.com. I debuted it last week, so this is brand new. I know I am so excited. It's like giving birth to a baby. It's called Catapult Your Career Right to Influence. And it takes my entire writing methodology, which I hope we can get into during our discussion here, and it applies it specifically to resumes, cover letters, strategizing the job interview itself, the post-interview thank you note, input to performance reviews. I have a section, a module in there that talks about writing email that's efficient and effective so that you can actually come up with results that then feed your performance reviews. And I also include 15 proven tips on once you've got that job, here's how you soar. The course is appropriate for people entering the workforce. It's appropriate for people who are mid-level, who are wanting to do better, or folks who are looking to change course and find something else. One of the reviews that I posted on the Teachable checkout page is from a colleague. He said, thanks to your writing methodology, I now control my own career. I know what to tell my boss and how to tell my boss, and not to passively wait for the boss to see if he's going to nominate me for an award. I can say, I've done all this great stuff, boss. Would you mind if I drafted something for you to submit? That's assuming you got a good relationship with the boss. But
That's right.
But this applies to, it covers the entire job cycle, and it applies to anybody entering or already in the workforce.
Okay. Now, you had mentioned maybe those reviews, right? Teaching how to people, maybe how to have, better one-on-ones. But what I'm finding, I talk to a lot of clients, and they're telling me that they're not, a lot of companies maybe, or their bosses aren't delivering reviews, or they're, Carla, here you scored a 4 out of 5. Your raise is 5%. Do you have any questions? And that's not a one-on-one. That's not an annual review. But unfortunately, a lot of companies are maybe gone away. I'm not sure why. I used to enjoy getting those reviews, especially from my bosses, because even though maybe I didn't talk to them often, they knew my business. They knew my struggles. They really knew what I was struggling with, and where I was succeeding. And I enjoyed that because I loved getting that feedback, even if, at times maybe that feedback isn't, maybe what I want to hear, but I need to hear it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Have you come across that? I mean, that maybe companies are not giving many one-on-ones?
Yes, but that does not detract. In fact, that makes it all the more important for you to feed the boss. So while you may not be getting the feedback from the boss, they're not going to be able to determine, are you a 5 out of 5 or 4 out of 5, unless they have the fodder upon which to make that determination. So, what I told my troops in Hawaii when I first started this particular journey is, everyone deserves a boss who can write. Okay, you deserve it. But that's not always the case. So if you learn how to write, like I'll be sharing with your audience today, then you can provide that spot-on input that the boss is likely to copy and paste, and that way you can help him, but more importantly, you can help yourself. So it's knowing what to pitch and how to pitch it.
No, that is I really that is spot on advice. We have somebody watching us, but for whatever reason, I can't see the comments today. Hold on here while I figure out why we're maybe having some technical difficulties, because I do see a comment, but I don't see a comment on my end today. But who knows? Sometimes technology just works that way. Well, I figure this out. What from the clients that you have helped? What do you think that maybe there's, if I'm a job seeker, I'm currently working, I'm looking to potentially get promoted. What is standing in my way of getting promoted that maybe your course can help me in achieving?
A couple of things. First of all, if you're trying to persuade the boss to champion your cause, you have to look at what you've done from the boss's perspective. What have you done that has made the boss's life easier? How have you helped the boss accomplish the mission or move the ball down the field? And that also incorporates, if you did get feedback, how has what you've done complied with or exceeded the expectations? Once you've identified what those particular nuggets are, then it's a matter of how you phrase them. And that gets into the strategies and the word sculpting tools, is knowing exactly what you've done, how to prioritize it, how to pitch it, how to put the details that make it pop, and how to tell that compelling story. So those are some things that would be holding you back.
Okay. I want to talk a little bit more. We're going to share the link to the course here. But everybody, make sure if you go watch this 6-minute video, because it'll really truly explain and kind of the encompass of the training. And this training is definitely not boring whatsoever. So I know you have this limited price until, I believe, the end of this month. You've made it easy for somebody to get this, whether it's 3 payments, 2 payments, or just taking care of it all at once. Okay, so but what if I'm unemployed and I have the resources to get this training? How can I use this to maybe get that job? What is this training going to help me do in order to, land that new career?
Well, it gives you strategies to compose the resume and the cover letters, assuming then that gets you into the interview. People often go into these interviews in a passive position. They don't realize that they can actually control the conversation. So what I tell people, and this is all based on strategizing the right to influence, is identify before you even walk in the door 3 key messages that you want to infuse into that conversation. They need to be short and sweet and succinct and compelling. So identify those 3, we're talking a sentence each, and practice them aloud before you get into that interview, because the conversation is going to be brisk and you want to stay on your toes to be able to drop those strategic points. And the other thing from the interview is identify in advance what your closing words are, because those are going to echo as the door shuts behind you. It's the last piece of wisdom that you want to drop on the interviewer, that last impression. So if you strategize, you have your thoughts already lined up, that's how you can really leverage that interview. And then the post-interview thank you note. Many people don't do that, and that's another golden opportunity. It's one more opportunity to interface with those decision makers. So you can select your message carefully and don't lose that opportunity either. So this helps you get the job. It teaches you how to target the concerns of the employer. When you're writing the resume, you don't write about, look at what I can do, I've done all this great stuff. You focus it on the needs of the employer. You write it from the employer's perspective, and how is it that I can help you? It's a completely different approach than what many people take, and that's what I teach.
Okay. Well, I am not, for whatever reason today, I am not able to put any of the questions or comments, but I will give a shout out to Stephen, because I'm watching here on my phone. So Stephen says hello. Stephen, if you have a question for us, please put it in the comments, and I will I'll share it. I won't be able to share it on the screen for whatever reason. I'm not able to do that today, but again, I can see it over here. All right. So we're finding more and more companies maybe don't care, they could care less about the cover letter. I've even found some companies that said don't include in cover letter, but people struggle with cover letters. So without giving away, everything in your course, obviously, why do people struggle with that cover letter, of maybe making it too long, or not exactly sure what to say? Should I say how that job, how I'm aligned with it, what interests me about that position? But people struggle with that cover letter. So what kind of advice maybe would you give job seekers?
The first thing is that and if the company says no cover letter, obviously no cover letter. But unless they say no, submit one, because it's another silver platter, another opportunity. You want to exude enthusiasm about the position. In the cover letter, you can include examples of problems similar to what the company is hiring for, problems that you've solved, but do not repeat the information that's already in the resume. You can expand on something in the resume, but don't duplicate it. And then conclude the cover letter by leaving the door open. So example, if this job is filled, please keep me in mind for other positions. So the cover letter, it's like the icing on the cake. It needs to be just a couple of paragraphs, very professional, letter perfect, but it provides a kind of professional polish. It indicates to the hirer how it is that you might likely interface with clients.
Okay. We've been finding even some employers might say, okay, in a cover letter, answer this question and this question and this question. And people struggle with that, because this is where you come in and this training comes in. People struggle with that because maybe they think they can easily, if they had a one-on-one where they could, explain that, but they have a hard time of really conveying how they would answer those in written form.
Which actually might be a ploy on the employer's part to ascertain what exactly are your writing skills. So one of the images that I use in explaining my methodologies, and I'll share it now. Imagine a white rectangle, okay? White rectangle. The point that I'm going to make is that every author, regardless of fact or fiction, blog or something going to Congress, you're constrained by two factors. You're constrained by the space, whether it's that one-page cover letter or a demarcated area on a government form. You're constrained by space, and you're constrained by the reader's time and fleeting attention. Now, in that white rectangle, in big, black, bold letters, put the word opportunity. All right? So the lesson is that the writer who best leverages the space and best leverages the reader's time, that's opportunity to make your case, that's the writer that's going to be able to achieve the goals. Now, for those cover letters, one of the strategy, I am a huge proponent of outlining. Before you put pen to paper for anything significant, outline your thoughts and then figure out what's going to make the cut, what's not going to make the cut line. You like budgets above the line and below the line, but put your thoughts down and outline what exactly are you going to say in the cover letter, and then you apply the strategies and the word sculpting tools to make every single word on that piece of paper count.
Okay, and everybody, if you're listening, make sure to put some comments down below. Again, I won't be able to share them for whatever technical reason, but I can see them over here. So please, if you have any questions, make sure to put them down below for us. So, okay. So I have an amazing resume. I have an amazing cover letter. Let's talk about, so how can the course that you've developed, if I've really honed those and I've listened to those, how can those help me during the interview process? I've completed this course of yours. How is this going to improve my interview?
Sure. Two of the strategies that, well, you've done your homework. Because you've done your homework well, you know the employer, you know the employer's goals and missions and products and challenges and problems. So you know them well. That's one bushel basket of information. And then you match your skills and experience with those particular pain points, and then throw away everything else that doesn't match. So you've got the storyline. In the interview, that's where you figure out what is it that the employer most needs, and that's where you target your conversation. Beware when the employer says, "Okay, Carla, tell me about yourself." Okay, this is where people sometimes go off track. Do not talk about your pet Cocker Spaniel. Do not talk about a love for knitting unless you're going for a job in a yarn factory. Every word that you utter in that interview, regardless of whether you're talking hobbies or other passions, correlate that somehow to skills that would benefit the employer. All right, there is no such thing as a friendly conversation in an interview. Make every word play to your advantage.
Yeah, I mean, if they ask something at a later time, or the interview's going well, if you start, maybe they invite you to lunch, or again, they ask you some questions regarding something personal or whatever, then you kind of know it's going good, and they maybe want to just shoot the breeze for you a little bit. Maybe they don't want it to end, because I know when I used to do interviews and I got that amazing person, right? I kind of didn't want it to end. I wanted to know more and more. So maybe then I started down that road.
But if I'm that amazing person and we're talking about, say, camping, I'm not just going to say, I love camping. I'm going to say, I love camping because of all of the planning that goes into it, and preparing the logistics, and scouting out the weather and the locations. Put a practical job-related twist to that, so that they can see that you're thinking. It's not just, hey, I love Mother Nature. Put a practical bite to it.
No, I've never heard it delivered that way. No, that is perfect. And again, that's where it comes, that rehearsing a little bit. You gotta know your content there. All right, I know I have a question coming up here soon, because somebody is articulating one here. I'm gonna try to refresh something here, see if that will work. First time for everything. All right. You have some additional resources for people that I really want to share. Maybe they're not ready to pull the trigger on the training, but what I want to share now. So you do have some resources. Right to Win, a standout resume, a downloadable ebook, Right to Win grant submission, and Right to Win performance review. Now, those are free downloads. Obviously, just put my name and contact information in there. Why are they free, and what can you tell me just briefly a little bit about, like,
Sure.
Who would want to download those, and why? Why?
Why did I do that? I wrote those 3 documents in the early stages of this horrible COVID, like 2 years ago. My thought was to help people. Where is it that people need the help the most? It's with resumes. It's folks who struggle, they always do, with input to performance reviews. And so many organizations depend on grants. So I figured those were the 3 biggest pain points. And so I took the Right to Influence methodology, the strategies, and the word sculpting tools, and applied them specifically to each one of those 3 products. And it was just to help folks.
So if I don't write grants, but maybe I have peers that write grants, or let's face it, maybe I just wanted to have a better understanding. Would it benefit me in downloading that grant writing? What am I gonna learn if that's not, in my lane?
Well, it tells you what it is that grant providers are seeking. It explains where the grant provider's head is. And much like writing a resume, with resume, do not just talk about here's who I am and what I can do. When one applies for a grant, don't write about here's my project, it's great, I'm going to help all these people. That's the wrong approach. What you need to do is figure out what the pain points are, what the mission, the vision, and the objective of the grant maker is, and write your project to convince them that you are helping them further their efforts. So it's all about writing to the audience and meeting the audience's need, not just your passion. So you have to put it in terms that will resonate with them.
Okay. I'm going to try to see if we have any questions here. Now, the right to win a performance review, is that for maybe a leader, or maybe to write my own in case I don't get one from my boss?
It's for your own. People have the hardest time when the boss comes up and says, "Cy, it's time for your performance review. Can you give me some input?" Everybody, that puts you in such an awkward position. Nobody enjoys doing that unless you're a narcissist. So what that does is it teaches you, first of all, if you're feeling like you're bragging, dispel that. If you're having a hard time talking about yourself, pretend that you're writing about a deserving subordinate or a colleague who you really want to see get promoted. So just change your mindset. And then it tells you how it is that you pitch the accomplishments. Let me share a strategy with you. One is don't bury the gold nugget. And let me read. This is a bullet written from a resume, and it's flawed. So I'm going to ask you, where is the gold nugget in what I'm about to read? So, dear audience out there, if you want to type in an answer, go for it. So here's the bullet. Built effective working relationships with cross-functional teams that improved processes and secured an extra $500,000. Where's the gold nugget?
Let's see if we have any questions or comments. Where's the golden nugget, everybody? Well, is it in the metric?
In what I just read. What is the key? What's the brass ring in what I just read? Build effective working relationships with cross-functional teams that improved processes and secured an extra $500,000. What's the important point in that?
Improve processes?
Nope.
I'm waiting. We got look at. Simone looks like she's going to answer. All right, is it the metric?
Yes, it's the $500,000. So that exemplifies burying the golden nugget. Okay. Now the next strategy is and this all goes back into how you write strong input for performance reviews. The second strategy is emphasize the what, not the how. So using that same example, we would flip-flop it and we would say, secured an extra $500,000, boom, boom. How? By building outstanding, not effective. Effective is a bad word. By building outstanding relationships. You don't need to say working because that's understood. by building outstanding relationships with cross-functional teams and improving internal processes. So there's two strategies. The first is don't bury the golden nugget because it's going to get lost, and you don't want to lose those. And second is lead off with the what did you do, and then you follow up with the how. Again, it comes back to opportunity and readers' fleeting emotion. And then another example is adding detail. So, dear audience, I'm going to read something again and see if you can tell me what detail this is lacking. This is going to be like
Simone. All right, Simone. Simone's active, so Simone,
okay.
Listen, and then
Hey,
give me that response.
Okay, so this is going to be like a half-completed golf swing. It only tells half the story. What part is missing? And here we go. Developed and taught recurring classes for corporate pay and travel processors. Period. If you were reading that resume, what does that not tell you?
I'm going to wait. We don't get it in a couple seconds. Well, what were the results?
What questions? If you're reading this, okay, developed and taught a recurring class for corporate pay and travel processors. What does that not tell you?
Well, why it was important?
Why it was important? Define recurring. How often did it occur?
Sure.
How many people attended? What were the results? And so we expand that, and you could say taught a monthly half-day class for 35 people, and the results, which was completely lacking in the other version, reduced payroll errors by 10% in the first quarter alone, and revitalized a customer support program, expediting response time by 20%. So
where was the no metrics, and you gotta go a little bit more in detail, right?
Exactly. So that the third strategy there was in your input to resumes or to performance reviews, ensure you include the detail, because that provides the reader a mental yardstick to understand what it is that you actually accomplished. And then the fourth strategy that this exemplifies is, oh my God, don't forget the impact. What happened as a result of? That's what's lacking in resumes, and that's what makes for mediocre performance reviews. But if you learn how to write like this, then you can set yourself up.
No, because you can't just talk about, I mean, you don't want that bullet on your resume to be too long, because you can go into extreme detail during the interview. Yes, but yes, golden nuggets you have to have, whether there was and maybe there's no metrics, but you can still talk about what was accomplished, what did it solve. So even if there's not a percentage or a dollar amount, you can talk about, again, that golden nugget is what the result was, not necessarily turnover, but again, you have to think of the end result. What was that feel good moment if there's no metrics tied to it? And you got to include that in there.
And then comes the how. The what comes the first, and then comes the how.
Okay. And again, it's, you can't go into detail too much, but if you collaborated with this person or whatever, sure. But we want to hear your golden nuggets, not always about the team. We do need to hear, again, what you did, what was your part in that particular role, even if it was collaborative, but we need to know your part of that.
Another one of my, do you have a question?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Another one of my strategies is you can frame your message with questions. So you'd mentioned way in your beginning about the housing market. So try this. If you were trying to sell your home, identify the questions that, if you were trying to buy a house, okay, you're now a house buyer, what questions would you ask the homeowner? And then use those questions to help you write your own advertisement. So, for example, the questions that would frame the advertisement for your house would be, When was it built? What improvements have you made? What's the availability of public transportation? Tell me about the school system. So identifying the questions that message should answer is another good way to frame the message that you're about to write.
That is gold right there. So I don't need no real estate person I'll write it. I know about my neighborhood, right? So I'll write that in a few years. Let's see. Stephanie from Chicago. Stephanie, do you have a question related to what we're discussing? We got plenty of people on LinkedIn. Let's just make sure that any questions that we have, for Carla, put them down there. Got people typing. Hello,
Okay.
everybody. I appreciate. I appreciate, and for whatever reason, I'm not able to put up the comments today. That is just too bad. But that's okay. We're providing you're providing a ton of advice and value here today.
Okay. Well, while we're waiting for the questions or the comments to come across, let me throw another image at you.
Okay.
Imagine an inverted triangle.
Okay.
So I teach my methodology with the image of an inverted triangle. At the top part of that triangle, the broad part, that's where the strategies occur. And the first quarter of the book talks specifically to strategies like I've been sharing so far. When you get down to the bottom part of the triangle, this is where you get into the word sculpting. Now, to quickly explain what word sculpting is, imagine like poof, you are now a sculptor. You're in Paris, you've got the beret and the hammer and chisel, and in front of you is a 6-foot chunk of marble. Because you are a master sculptor, you know the image that lies dormant in that marble. So chisel, 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 hammer, hammer, rebel on the floor, there's your statue. Word sculpting is the same thing, except instead of having that chunk of marble, you have your initial draft. And so sentence by sentence, you apply my 10 word sculpting tools and you get rid of the useless words, the redundancies, the words that hog space, all of that rubble goes away. And you've shrunk your draft from 10 pages to 5 pages of hard-hitting message. And the beauty is you've just bought yourself 5 more pages. Remember my white rectangle with opportunity? You just bought yourself more space to keep making your case. So we talked a little bit about playing ping pong before the show started. Do you want to play ping pong with one of these word sculpting tools?
Let's do it.
Okay, so the one I love most explaining is verbs. So I want you to imagine a hard-boiled egg.
Okay.
Got it? Now make it 6 foot tall. Big, honking, hard-boiled egg. What you focus on is the yolk. The yolk is the verb. The white, the albumin, the white stuff, suffocates, is the bureaucratic blather that we suffocate verbs with in contemporary writing. Now here's an example, or several examples. I'll throw the fat verb at you, and David, you tell me what the real verb is, okay?
Okay.
All right, here we go. Take a look at. Is examine.
Okay.
Produce a reduction. What's the real verb there? Produce a reduction.
I'm not sure.
Reduce. Arrive at a solution.
Arrive?
No, arrive at a solution is resolve.
Oh, okay.
Okay, create a summary is summarize. Is an example of is exemplifies. Hold weekly meetings is meet weekly. So if Yep. So if you look at your sentences and specifically focus on the verbs and get rid of all of that clutter, those unnecessary words that suffocate the verb, that's one way to make the writing much crisper and save space. And then similar to that, the word sculpting tool number 2, I call it words that hog space. Here's some examples. Motivating factor is, you want to try?
Motivating.
Motivator. Not a cheap expense. And these are all, I'm not making this stuff up. Not a cheap expense is expensive. As quickly as possible is expeditiously. How about in the aftermath of? One word. In the aftermath of? After.
I'm trying to. We are getting some comments, so I'm trying to read them. At
I
the
know.
same time.
I know. You're multitasking there. Those who attend as attendees.
I don't get anything done.
Anyway, so that's word sculpting tool number 2 is words that hog space. So by the time you apply the others, that's how you go for crisp writing, and that's also what's going to make a big difference in those resumes and input to performance reviews and competition for awards and selections for competitive assignments and all of that good stuff.
Okay. We do have a question from Stephanie, and she says, should a seasoned individual include more than 10 years of experience on a resume?
I'd say no, because if you're experienced, you've got more than enough to make your case as to why you qualify for the job.
And let's face it, a lot of times that might. Some of those older jobs might not be that relevant to what you're applying for.
Mm-hmm.
If it's important because it's a big company or whatever, I guess you could just put the name of the position, the name of the company, and the dates, and nothing else.
That's it.
Yes. All right. So, and Stephanie says, okay, so yeah, if that's the case, how do I make sure, not to lose? What if, 15 years ago I was in a role that is more related to what I'm applying for now?
Well, then you nailed it, David. Just the dates, the job title, and the company.
Yeah, if they want to know more, they'll definitely ask. But you could still reference that maybe in you could still talk about those skills, especially in a summary on a resume. You can still talk about the knowledge, and then if they want to know where you got it at, they'll hopefully look at your resume and understand it might have been from a career that you had a little while ago.
That might also be a candidate for inclusion in the cover letter, situation dependent.
No, that's perfect. And Stephanie, I will put a link for getting Carla's book in the show notes, so Stephanie can get that. So thank you, Stephanie. And it's so funny, we're getting these answers to your questions just a little bit delayed for whatever reason. So they're nailing them. So, and Terry just messaged me, just texted me, and Terry, I have a link to Terry's a good friend of mine. I have a link to Carla's book. I have a link to the website with her online courses and all the other contact information for Carla as well.
So, by the way, the way I present this online course is exactly as you and I are chatting. I play ping pong with the audience, although obviously the person can't respond to me, but I did it just like I did here. Provide a description that I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, describe, and then the answers are on subsequent slides. There's so much more that I can do in the course because I've got slides. So you play scavenger hunt. Here's an example of a sentence with all sorts of wasted words. Now here's the next one. Your turn. Did you find them? Your turn. Did you find them? Redundancies is another word sculpting tool that's just a blast to share. So if you enjoy this kind of informal ain't your mama's grammar class approach, I talk to you as much as I can like this throughout this. It's 3 hours. It's modular, so it can be done in bite-sized pieces as your time permits. But it's fun. I had a blast writing and filming it.
Oh no, I'm sure from the little bit that I've seen on the website, I'm sure you had a good time. And make sure, everybody, that you are watching this little 6-minute video. You'll have a better understanding of Carla's career and what you're going to learn in this course. And of course, we given maybe a little bit away, and Carla has made this very affordable. 3 payments, 2 payments, 1 payment, and these prices currently are only good until the end of the month.
Let me tell a story on myself. Self-deprecation is always a good thing too. I've been teaching this now since 1994. I created this for my unit in Hawaii, and there's a story there too. But the actual videoing this course, that's the first time I've actually sat down in a studio and videoed. So they told me, make sure that you don't wear jewelry that jingles, because the sound system will pick that up. So this is the bracelet that you'll see in the video. The story I'm telling is, I figured, well, the way I can have the thing not jingle is lesson learned. I crammed a Kleenex underneath it so it wouldn't jingle. And damned if every one of my 7 videos leading into the modules, you see the Kleenex. So that's my, I learned a lesson there. I'm hoping people who don't listen to this might think I had a wounded wrist or something, but lessons learned. So that's the story about the Kleenex they're going to see crammed into the bracelet.
To be honest, I'm sure, people are only going to see and hear the value and probably will not pay much attention to the.
I know. When you're playing piano, you make a mistake, you're supposed to keep on going. But I got such a chuckle at myself about that blasted Kleenex. I thought I'd share it with you guys. Welcome to the human race, huh?
Oh, yes. Yes. And we're all going to we're going to flub and make mistakes, and that's okay. Again, it's just like posting content on LinkedIn. We want you posting, whatever social media, but if you make a mistake, you goof or whatever, it's more about the message that you're delivering and less about
the message is solid, the slides, everything. I am so proud of that course. The other thing it provides, I composed a 30-page, I'm told the word workbook is not a good word, although I don't see why, but I composed a 30-page reference book that has 120 challenges, okay, the before after challenges, so the challenges and the answers that correlate to the 7 modules. Composing that book, I invented all sorts of new material just for that book. That in itself was a major labor of love. So
no, I'm sure Stephanie has a follow-up reminder to self, cover letter, summary, experience relevant to the job. Thank you so very much. Again, she's taking notes. She's going to get your book, but she's taking notes. And Stephanie's Stephanie, I won't say. Well, she works at the U.S. Census Bureau.
Oh, yay! Hey, Stephanie, hire me to come give a workshop to your Census Bureau colleagues.
Oh, well, yes, there you go.
I've taught for the U.S. Geological Survey, all sorts of government agencies too. One thought on the post-interview thank you note, which is distinct from the resume cover letter. Things to include in that post-interview thank you note is, 1, mention the date that you were interviewed and the job title so that you connect yourself with that vacancy. If there were any personal discussions, for example, David, you interviewed me and we got into this conversation about fly fishing. I would put in my thank you letter, I really enjoyed our conversation about fly fishing and I'm going to use those techniques next week. So if you made a personal connection, mention that in the post-interview thank you note. So that will help the interviewer remember exactly who you were.
Oh yeah, and obviously you said, hey, you're thanking them really for some kind of those tips or whatever, right? And again, there's nothing wrong with that. And again, if it was a genuine,
Yep.
a genuine conversation, then yes.
Yep. That's the tag.
Can I? Is it okay? So a lot of times job seekers don't know, like maybe don't have an email, to that hiring manager or whatever, because, the recruiter never gave it and they don't want to get bugged or whatever. What's some, how do I have this great letter to send and I have like nobody to send it to, or maybe only a recruiter that I hope can forward it. How do I get around that?
The HR, I would contact the HR shop of the company that's fronting that job vacancy. And when you send that post-interview thank you note, it's not just to the dude or dudette who did the interview, but also to, if you can get the name of the HR staff that made that interview possible. So as many people as possible say thank you to. That was poorly worded. Thank as many people as possible.
That's
and
okay.
People often ask, okay, so I know what I want to say. By what vehicle do I convey my gratitude? Okay, so you've got three options. One is email, two is a thank you note card, and three is a letter. My response to that question is use all three. An email, if you go only email, that's just another email that may or may not be read. It does not show much effort on your part at all. Thank you note, which is classier, but it's space constrained, so that's a ding on you. So what you do is you write a letter, a thank you letter. You personalize it with a handwritten note at the bottom, and then you stamp it and you mail it, but then you email a notification saying, I really appreciate it. Stay tuned. I have just mailed you a thank you note. It should be arriving in X number of days. So you use all three to deliver that thank you.
Okay. So for whatever reason, we do have somebody watching us on YouTube, and for whatever reason, I can put that up there, but not the LinkedIn ones for whatever reason today. And I'm sure it's a LinkedIn issue. So I'm glad that we have somebody watching us on YouTube as well. And I know there's people on Facebook because I went over there and looked real quick. So and they'll be following up after the show. All right. So I want to touch base before we end. Besides the training course, right? The book, the free resources that you have, you also do provide individual coaching. You said workshops. Tell us just maybe a little bit more about some of those services that you provide.
Well, I had one. This is a lobbying firm in D.C. They had just hired a new chief of their strategic communications section. The woman was brilliant, but she had problems writing. So they hired me to give 8 hours. It was an 8-hour package over at their request over the course of 6 weeks. And she would send me her products. I would apply my methodology and say, okay, the before and after. So for those 8 hours, interspersed to accommodate their ops tempo, I tailored a package for them. Another firm has hired me for a workshop series of 3 workshops, again, using their products to teach their staff how to write more concisely and make sure they get the primary message up front, that gold nugget, followed by the ancillary data. I do individual coaching one-on-one. I also do special projects. An organization at the United Nations has just hired me to help rewrite the text on their web page to make it more concise and punchy and actually deliver the message they want to deliver. So I've helped a company. Let's see, it was the electromagnetic pulse. It was a 90-page report going to Congress on the the necessity of having an electric grid that's resilient in the context of electromagnetic pulse. When I saw that first report, it was all written in technocrat type language, which is going to fall flat for policymakers in Congress. And so I turned that thing upside down, inside out, and completely readjusted it so you had the policy implications up front, and then we built appendices that had the technical information. So, I apply my writing skills helping folks in all sorts of various areas.
Well, I kind of know, the course, the free resources that you have. I know you love giving back, and your decades in leadership, I'm sure you get that warm fuzzy feeling just knowing the assistance that you've given somebody has either led them to a promotion, a job, or you're delivering this virtual workshop to these individuals, and now they have a better understanding because of your twists on delivering the material, writing the material and delivering it. So I know for you and I, again, it's really getting that light bulb moment for our clients.
I also send out a twice monthly newsletter. It's called Right to Influence Quick Tips. The anchor articles are anywhere from 400 to 600 words. And I spend an enormous amount of time making sure that I've got a message that's going to help somebody. And as you can understand, there's not a wasted word in my anchor article. So if people are interested in that, there's a sign up on the webpage, or they can send me an email. And tomorrow, I'm giving a live webinar to the Military Officers of America Association. I have 500 people who have signed up to take this live webinar. I'm gobsmacked at that number of people, and thrilled with the opportunity.
Well, if they've watched a little bit and know about, and they know it's going to be it's going to be exciting, because just in the 57 minutes that we've been on, you've already touched a few lives. You provided us with so much value, as far as whether you're a job seeker or you're in your current role and you just need to be you need to be a little bit better in delivering that message, so people see you in that next role. Because if you're going to go in that next role, you got to be able to deliver on so much. And I know your course is going to help various people at various stages of their career. So I want to check comments here one last time.
And everybody, if anybody happens to get the book, and I'm not here to sell books, I think you might have figured that out by now, but if you get it, do me a favor and please post a comment on Amazon, because that helps so very, very much. You almost have to be an author to understand how valuable that is in increasing the book's visibility so other people can find it. So I would ask that as a favor.
Okay, everybody. Yes, and if you're a connection of mine and you get Carla's book, I'm going to follow up to make sure that you write a review. And
please.
I'm all caught up on my reading, so later today I'm going to head over to Amazon and get that, because I need a couple more books to read on a upcoming vacation that I'm going to have here shortly. So and Carla, be prepared. I do book reviews. I do video book reviews, and I post them on LinkedIn. And I've been known to post them where I'm at, and I might be somewhere kind of where we already kind of talked to before the show. So it might be a good backdrop, so I can have that book before I end up going on vacation. And
which is ironic, because that's where Right to Influence began, was with my unit in Hawaii. So that's coming full circle.
Again, so if everybody doesn't know this, can you tell me just a little bit about your previous career in the U.S. Air Force?
I served 30 years active duty. I followed my father's footsteps. I decided when I was in 7th grade, I was going to join Air Force intelligence. He was in intelligence at that point, and my mom kept saying, "Don't ask your father any questions because he can't tell you." And I thought, well, shoot, I'll just join it myself, and I did. As a first lieutenant, I was tapped to compose and give daily briefings to the director of the National Security Agency. So from my very earliest days, I learned that every second counts and every word matters. But I didn't recognize the full impact of powerful writing until I became the squadron commander in Hawaii. When I arrived there and took command of the 480 people, it was the most losing unit in statewide professional award competitions. People's careers were being harmed unintentionally by bosses who could not write winning nomination packages. Deserving folks weren't getting promoted, they weren't getting the pay raises, and that was hurting their families. So I took 3 days vacation, and I sequestered myself in a cabin on Bellows Beach, and that's where I asked myself, Carla, you can write, you can do this. How is it that you do it? And how can you explain that to others? That's where I invented the word sculpting tools in those 3 days. And so I composed like a 20-page tactical handbook. I turned that into a 1-hour workshop. I taught my guys how to write, and we started sweeping the awards. Then the other units came and asked me to teach them. Bottom line is I ended up teaching it for the next 15 years to thousands, because nobody, I mean, this was a hole 20 years ago, and it's even more of a hole now because school systems don't teach students how to write for impact. And when they come out, when they go into the workforce, the employees are suffering, the employers are suffering because they need folks who can write with punch because of that time and space principle. So that's what brought me here.
All right, so everybody, now that you know a little bit about Carla's career, you have to know, if she can deliver and get the fine men and women that serve in our military up and running and being great, guess what? She's going to do the same for you, whether it's the training, it's the book. I can't wait to read it. No, we had a great, technical difficulties as far as, putting up the questions, but a little time delay for whatever reason, more so than, but I know there's going to be plenty of people that go onto the website, get your book. Make sure if you get the book, you have to go onto Amazon and make sure to give that review after you've had a chance to write it. So definitely let us know how that goes tomorrow. I hope to, hear a little bit more from that on, LinkedIn and find out a little bit more how that goes. What a pleasure having you on, and I know there's going to be some follow-up questions on people watching it, not live on on the recorded, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn. So the messages will come in. What's the best way for somebody to get a hold of you if they wanted to get a hold of you?
It's Carla, C-A-R-L-A, Carla at write2influence.net. Right?
Okay.
To influence.net.
Okay. We'll put that on the show notes as well. And Carla, thank you again for coming on today.
Thank you for the opportunity.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, everybody. Wow. Sorry about the technical difficulties. That's a first. Whoops. Hold on. I lost you, everybody, just for a second. All right. Yeah, technical difficulties. For whatever reason, Facebook and YouTube, I could put comments on, but for LinkedIn, we dealt with it. And because I'm noticing a lot of the comments, and I didn't want to look too much to the side, but I really do appreciate each and every one of you from coming on. Again, link to Carla's training, her online training. And again, those prices are only going to be available until the end of the month. She has different, what you can pay for it all up front, 2 payments, 3 payments. I'll put a link to the book, those 3 free resources. If that's what you need right now, make sure to look at all 3 of those resources that we shared. Again, I will share all of those. And as always, everybody, make sure, if you're a job seeker, make sure, again, you have to have a good resume. You have to have a good LinkedIn profile. You need to learn how to network, and that training that we talked to about regarding Carla's online course. You have to be able to articulate on that resume during the interview, and once in position, come on, hopefully we can stay at our careers for and have a career path of climbing that ladder, whatever that looks like for you. But in order to do that, you have to be able to communicate that next level. And I know that is the value that you're going to get from Carla's new online course that just went live just a week ago. So that's it. We're going to play. We're going to share our little sponsor video for just a few seconds, and then I'll be right back to end the show. So everybody enjoy this little message from Hirect. All right, everybody, you know that the Hirect app is free. It's free for recruiters, founders, owners. It's free for job seekers, and it allows you to upload your resume and chat directly with the hiring managers, the founders, the owners of a lot of different startups. It's absolutely free. Again, free for founders and hiring managers, HR, to post their jobs and be able to then video chat with them in the interviews almost the same day. I've had a lot of people that I've known that have gotten me interview the next day. But where else? You don't need another app. You don't need another download of anything. You basically kind of like FaceTime them through their app. It is free to anybody in the U.S. and India. They're going to push it out to other countries soon, but those 2 countries. So everybody, hey, thank you for interacting today with Carla and I. Not sure what the issue was, although a friend of mine just texted me and said it was a known issue with LinkedIn. Shame on LinkedIn. But anyway, hey, if you want to message Carla, again, I'll put those, her email, website, everything. That's it, everybody. Come back, watch us next Wednesday, same time, 12 p.m. Pacific. And as always, everybody, I hope you make the rest of this week your best week ever. Bye.